My name is Laura Florzak, and I'm the visual art teacher at Diet High School for the Arts, and I am making this demo video for Chicago Arts Partnership in Education for their online learning initiative. I'm going to cover some collage techniques, replace, remove, shatter, and mess with scale. All right, let's get started. All right, so this first technique that we're gonna look at is called remove and replace. And you're gonna do just what it sounds like. You're gonna remove something from a photo that you have and you're gonna replace it with something else. A little bit further on in the video, I'm gonna talk to you guys about surrealism, which is where I get my inspiration from when I'm making collage art. There's lots and lots of different types of collage art out there, but I always was drawn to surrealist collage. I think it's really fun to look at and it's playful and there's not really any wrong way to do it. So I had a bunch of old magazines at my house and I just went through and pulled out pictures that I thought I might be able to mess with. And then this one here of Sir Anthony Hopkins ended up working for my remove and replace. So as you can see, I'm using an X-Acto knife and I have a cutting board underneath it. If you only have scissors, one way that you could do this is you could take a pencil and poke a hole to get your scissors in and then cut the face out. So if you were trying to do something where you were removing but you didn't want to cut from the edge of the paper, you can definitely do that without an X-Acto knife. All right, let's talk about what surrealism is really quick. It is a 20th century literary, philosophical, and artistic movement that explored the workings of the mind, championing the irrational, the poetic, and the revolutionary. We're going to focus in mostly on the art movement itself and the irrational sort of imagery and combinations that you would see in a lot of traditional surrealist artwork. Many people know Salvador Dali. He's probably one of the most famous surrealist artists out there. I know I look at his work a lot when I'm thinking about making surreal collage art. They get their ideas from things like their dreams or the unconscious mind. They were really into Freud and psychology and psychoanalysis. So if you want to read more about surrealism, it is a very cool art movement and I encourage you to. But that's just a little basic information to give you some background on where the ideas for these collages come from. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to take this collage. These are beginning techniques. So for someone who might have never worked in collage art before, you can get much more complex with these and do a lot of layering, but I'm going to finish this one by just mounting it onto some black paper. Again, this video is intended to help someone who maybe hasn't done much collage before, just get a few techniques under their belt. So that's it. We're gonna leave it off at that one. Sometimes simple is better. The next thing we're going to look at is a contemporary collage artist, and her name is Lindsay Sepp. She's from San Diego, and she makes these kind of surrealist style artworks where there's just very crazy things happening. It's in outer space. She plays with scale. She plays with, removing and replacing. So some of the techniques we're looking at in this video. So I encourage you to definitely take a look at her artwork. Moving on, we are going to go ahead and try a second technique that is called Shatter. And it is very much what it sounds like. You're going to take an image and you're going to shatter it, and then you're going to kind of put it back together. I did like a shatter pattern where it goes in like a circular radial type of shatter, but you can shatter the image a lot of different ways. So whatever, if you want to shatter it horizontally and then spread it out, or shatter it vertically, this was just one that I thought worked well for the face since it's round. But yeah, so that's what you'll see me doing next. Okay, I am going to show you guys next how to paste down your shattered image. I actually recommend you don't put the glue all over your paper like this because after I did it, I realized that's going to dry shiny and it does not look great. So just put the glue on the back of your paper if you can. If you're not using black paper, it's not as noticeable, but it definitely dried shiny on my page. Another technique you see me doing is just putting a little bit of glue on the end of my finger, and I'm using that to pick up those little tiny pieces and then put them back into the correct spot, but slightly moved away from the face because again, I want to leave a little negative space so that we can get that shattering effect. So yeah, that's it. I'm just finishing this one up. Okay, our third and final collage technique we're going to try for today, and surrealist artists love to do this, and that is messing with scale. So putting things next to each other that make one thing look really, really large or something else look really, really small. It's a technique that you'll see in paintings and all kinds of surrealist artwork. Salvador Dali did it all the time with, he has this painting with elephants and they're gigantic and the people around them are small. So definitely a popular surrealist technique. I started with picking out a few different backgrounds and then thinking about putting something on top of those backgrounds that would make that thing look either way too big or way too small. The object I decided to go with is this ballet dancer. So I didn't even use an X-Acto knife to cut her out. If you take your time with scissors, I have this video sped up, so I was not cutting as fast as it looks like I am, but you can get a very clean cut with regular scissors. And that is something that's important in collage art, is that you want to have nice clean cuts and you want to make sure you're cutting right up to the edge of the object so that it blends like seamlessly in with whatever you're going to be pasting it on top of. Now I did use my X-Acto knife a little bit because there was a space like in between her arm and her back that I wanted to remove, but again, if you didn't remove that space, I think it would be okay. But if you have an X-Acto knife, you should go for it. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna see me doing is actually kind of just playing around with a couple different backgrounds and placements. That's something that a collage artist would do. You're not gonna necessarily go with the first idea that you have. You wanna see what's gonna work best. So I had that cityscape, I have this beach. She wasn't looking like particularly out of scale on either of those. Now the pool one, she definitely looked really tiny, but I just didn't feel like it made sense to put it together, which I wasn't trying to make it make sense, but I just wasn't liking the way that looked personally for my own aesthetic taste. This one worked better for me, so the background was smaller, and when I put her on top, it did make her look like this gigantic ballerina who was like gonna dance over this entire city. I liked the way she blended more with the background, so it felt like she could be a part of that photo, although we know she's not because she's very, very large and the buildings behind her are small, but it definitely gives us that kind of irrational, crazy look. So that's it. Have fun with surrealist collage.